And I just started spazzing, you know what I mean? I opened up about everything that happened with him on camera, and like everybody was hitting my phone from the Zulu Nation, like begging me to take the video down because they was more concerned about the image, because certain people in the Zulu Nation built their brands where they got little private little security companies or little companies where they, you know, they bringing in revenue. So they was hitting me up like, yo, like for example, Muhammad Islam, he started the Zulu Warriors where I was actually working with them, and we was pretty much doing like concert work and security work for some of the top artists, bodyguarding them or whatever the case may be. So he had just started the Zulu Warriors, and he was scared that it was gonna mess his company up.
Okay.
So I took the so I took the video down after about a half a day it was up, and I took the video down. Somehow the video got to actually I don't think it got the star. No, it did get the star. It got the star. So they pretty much had me on the phone behind the scenes, trying to talk to Star, trying to get started to take the video down or whatever. I didn't speak to Star, but I was listening to them like, yo, the brother don't want the video up, take the video down, trying to get Star to take the video down. 6 months later, I'm going too fast. So what happened was after that, they called me, we had a meeting, and it was some of the council of the Zulu Nation, where Afrika Bambatta came to Muhammad Islam's house. And it was a bunch of the elders there, and he admitted to what he did to me in front of the whole room. He admitted it. So at the end of the day, I just told the dude, like, look, man, just make sure you do something like build a foundation to give back to the kids that you hurt, and to put a tombstone on B.O.'s gravesite. I ain't asked to do too much of nothing. But little did Bam know, Muhammad Islam, his top soldier, tried to negotiate with me to ask Bam for $20,000, which I never did. So, because Muhammad was like $16,000 behind his rent, so he thought I was just going to sit up there and basically extort Bam to give him some money. It didn't work out. It wasn't going to happen because I had too much love for the nigga like a father anyway, but at the same time, it was like, you know what I mean, the nigga needed to be stopped, and I knew that. We all knew that. Like, it wasn't a secret what Bam was doing. It was just whispers. Nobody was saying it out loud. Niggas was whispering it. So 6 months later, now I'm home. I get a phone call early in the morning by a real, from a strong brother, a busy brother. He was like, yo, them cats talking about killing you. I said, what happened? He said, look at the newspaper. Now, I've been down with the Zulu Nation for a long time, but I've never met Beat Stinger.
Okay.
So when Ron Savage, when he came out 6 months later, they felt like, I guess niggas felt like me and him was together in cahoots with each other.
Oh, okay.
I never knew Ron Savage. Ron acted like he didn't know who I was. He knew who I was. He heard about what I did. Everybody was talking about it. He acted like he ain't never seen me. He ain't never seen the video. Everybody was talking about it. Because, you see, the YouTuber that I became, the blogger, I was like a street legend. Niggas knew me for getting busy in the street. So that's what shocked everybody. Like, nah, that ain't happened to him.
Okay.
It actually hurt a lot, shocked a lot of people. So when Beast Stinger came out, that was the straw that broke the camel's back right there.
So hold on, Hasan. So Beast Stinger was actually the one who went to the media, because your incident never made it to the news.
No, it made it to the news after Beast Stinger.
Okay, all right. I got another question before we go on. You said that even though you wanted Bambatta, you wanted him to stop doing what he did, you still, like, I don't know, looked up to him in a perspective of like a father figure or something like that. Can you explain that?
Well, what it is, what people don't understand, like, in the black community, a lot of people are not gonna admit it, but damn near every family, there's that uncle, that grandfather, that pedophile that done touched all the kids, and the family act like it's cool with it. So it becomes a normal in the family. Nobody says nothing. Nobody does nothing to that uncle. We all know it's that one uncle that touched touch half the kids in the family. That was Afrika Bambatta. But like I said, before Afrika Bambatta actually started touching me, I'd have been through many different incidents with different people. So it was like I was being molested from a young age. And throughout my life coming up at Bronx River, which Bronx River was a hellhole, Bambatta pretty much protected me from a lot of stuff at a young age. I was a scary little dude. I wasn't always a wild dude. I was scared to go outside. So he played on that. He played on poverty and the pain of the hood with a lot of the children that was out there. And like I said, with him, he actually helped to take care of me and my mother. Like, my mother run out of food. My mother was on welfare. My mother was crippled. So there was times she was able to work. There was times that she couldn't even walk. She had like a wheelchair. She had crutches. Her arthritis was crippling. So she had her ups and downs. You know, my mom's was sickly. You know, so more or less, he took care of my family. And because of that, even when I went to jail, he took care of me. So because of that, I had a love for the dude. But, you know, through manipulation and me being on social media, he found the way to reach out to certain platforms and have them doing exactly what they're doing now. But a lot of the stuff that's going on social media, he's behind. He's totally behind.
What you feel is going on social media that could be I don't know, instigated by Afrika Bambatta? What are you implying?
Well, let's sit back and let's analyze, right? Let's take it back to when Sinetta. I goes to meet with Immortal Technique through Sinetta. He reaches out. He wants to sit down with me and have a conversation with me about what happened with Bambatta. So who puts it together? Sinetta. I get to 125th Street. Me and, you know, we supposed to be in a restaurant eating. Me and Immortal Technique, we pretty much on one of the blocks out there talking. I'm like, cool, whatever. Now, any other time Sinetta got his cameras up, how you got me and Immortal Technique there? You ain't recording us? So after a while, I'm like, you know what? I tell Immortal Technique, well, I'm out there talking to him for like an hour and a half. I'm like, yo, I got to put some quarters in the meter. My car, you know, the meter's getting ready to run out. So I walk back. I'm like, damn, I ain't got no quarters. I walks to Sinetta to ask him for some quarters. And I get some change with him. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to hang out. You know what I mean? I'm going to hang out on the block. I ain't going to leave. I'm going to sit down and hang out, you know, with the conscious community, see what these dudes is talking about. Him and Red Pill together. I'm out here already. I goes across the street. Now, as I goes across the street, you know, I'm calling one of my older brothers on the phone or whatever to let him know what was going on. And then I walks dead directly into Tafiq. Now, a lot of people don't know Tafiq was like a brother to me, but at the same time, like, I knew him being there wasn't just coincidental. I felt it in my gut. So when I walked up to him, I pretty much, you know, I gripped up like, yo, what's good? He was like, he act normal, like it was nothing going on. But I see he got little goons in the side, like in the background. I'm like, and I look, and I'm like, yo, what's good? Yo, you know what I mean? What's good? So he was like, nah, shit, I ain't doing nothing. I'm just out here chilling. I'm like, yeah. So this was the lineup right there. So while I'm on the phone in my Bluetooth, my older brother, like, he's like a brother from another mother. Like, he was also one of the dudes that was there, you know, when Bam admitted to what happened to me. So he was like, yo, get out of there. I said, nah, I'm going to deal with this dude. He was like, nah, whatever trap they said, you on 125th Street, there ain't nothing but police out there, just leave and deal with it later. So I said, you know what? He absolutely right, because the reality of it is if I'd have started spraying out there, there was police on every corner, which didn't make any sense to me for the nigga to play the game that he played. So I ended up leaving. I called Tafiq on the phone and I told Tafiq, I was like, yo, I'm outside your mother's house right now. What's good? He was like, why are you mad at me? He said, you didn't come down here to meet me. You came down here to meet Side Snake. Side nigga, you know, he said, Side nigga, I mean Side Snake. So I hit Side on the phone. I was like, yo, you set me up. You tried to set me up with Tafiq?
Let me ask you something. I've heard you in prior videos, I don't know, go on rants, but address Tafiq. What's his relation to Afrika Bambatta? Because he seemed to be a key player. I heard you mention his name time and time again and shit. So could you give me some insight on who he is?
Well, Tafiq is pretty much supposed to be cousin, and he's like, well, now he's pretty much one of the leaders of the Zulu Nation Army. So, and Tafik is also, he no joke.
Okay.
I ain't gonna water the nigga down. Tafik can put it in.
When you say,
as a matter of fact, he got locked. Tafik got locked up in 96, I believe, 95, 96, for shooting the police sergeant in the Bronx. In an apartment, the same apartment, they found like bombs and grenades and stuff like that. But the police somehow, they got in the apartment and I gotta say allegedly, so because he beat the case anyway, but still, the police was already in the apartment. So when he went to the apartment, he heard the walkie-talkies or whatever. I guess they started exchanging fire. He hit a sergeant or whatever the case may be, and he went to jail for a murder. So he was fighting the case of body that some Puerto Rican kid told on him with. That kid busy snitched on him, and then he was fighting the case with the police. He beat both of them. Okay. So we was on Rikers Island together as well.
Okay.
Me and Tafik pretty much came up like tight. So, pretty much he was also the one when I told him, yo, we got to do something about this stuff going on with Bam. He was like, I'm just a cover up man. So that was his response. Like the news was trying to stop Bam. They knew they couldn't stop him anyway. Unless you put something, nobody can't stop him. His preference is little boys. And no matter how they try to sugarcoat it, his preference is little boys.
Right. Damn. We kind of like jumped off into the pedophilia portion of the interview. I wanted you to actually give my listeners some insight on who you are, growing up in the Bronx, your background. I'm familiar with your story loosely. It's patchy. You go in different directions at times and shit. You know what I'm saying? You got an unorthodox dribble. You dig? So give us some insight on, what it was like growing up in Bronx River. What led you to the Almighty Zulu Nation? Were you at these parties that they were having? Blase. Go ahead. You got it.
Well, I mean, it's like in Bronx River, you pretty much damn near you're born into the Zulu Nation. The whole Bronx River, not the whole. The majority of the Bronx River was Zulu, but my generation started breaking away from that. Even though Zulu was still strong, but my generation, like certain dudes of my generation, just started, in the early 90s, they started doing their own thing. Like branching out, having their own. Every building had its own little crew. So, one of my bigger brothers, that I looked up to, was two of them actually. Like before I started running wild, I was looking up to certain brothers, like, because these dudes B.O. was a street legend. Like, was like straight hardcore on the street, and then you had Jerry. Jerry was just knocking everybody out, undefeated. Nobody could beat him. In my eyes, nobody couldn't beat him. He was Superman to me. B.O. was Superman to me. So that just encouraged me to be a certain type of way. Plus, in Bronx River, it's like, come on, New York in the early 90s, people say whatever they want to say about New York now, but New York in the early 90s, we was the most unique, like the flyest. We had so many different styles that made New York what it was. It's like when you sit back and you look at Heavy D, he had his own style. You look at Method Man, he had his own style. You look at Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, we had some of the illest dudes. Facts. So, growing up at Bronx River, at any given, every other weekend, you would run into LL Cool J in the center. You would run into Ice-T. I'd have been around Ice-T quite a few times. Ice-T in the center. Like, anybody that was somebody in the early 80s and 90s was in Bronx River. So it's like when we turned up and we partied, nobody partied like us. Right.
Was B.O. when B.O. was living, was B.O. familiar with what happened with you in Afrika Bambatta?
Nah, B.O. didn't know that.
Okay.
He didn't know that. Because if he knew what happened to me, it would have been a problem. It would have definitely been a problem. I'm not gonna say that he never heard of what was going on prior to me. I wouldn't say that, but he didn't know that actually happened to me.
Okay. Let me ask you about the pictures that I seen. you have pictures. You have pictures with Afrika Bambatta as an adult. Explain how could you take a picture after this happened as an adult, after going through prison and everything and establishing a different set of morals and beliefs. How do you come back as an adult and take a picture with him? He's a pedophile. You wouldn't take a picture with a pedophile in prison, so why would you take a picture with a pedophile on the streets? Namely, your accuser. I mean, the person that you're accusing of, molesting you.
Well, you got to keep in mind, like, it's like, with Bam, he was still like a family. He was still like that family member. This is what people don't understand. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, when black people have gatherings, that same uncle that's the pedophile was sitting in that same living room with the kids, and everybody knows about him. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I hit home when we deal with this topic. It always hit home, even with the comedians. I forgot which guy. I think it was Chris Rock that made jokes about this. Chris Tucker.
Right.
One of them just had to stand up and make a joke about the uncle. Everybody has that, but a lot of people see pedophilia and child sexual abuse is the number one topic that black people try to avoid. You know why? Because most dudes are guilty of it. Playing with an underage girl he ain't got no business playing with. Everybody know Marcus Houston ain't supposed to be running around with that young girl he just married at 19 years old. He been dealing for how long? Like, you know what I mean? Everybody knew it was something funny about how Marcus Houston and his group was on an album cover in their underwear, and they got grown men putting them up there. And the next day, B2K, the brother Raz be coming out and he's talking about, his manager,
Chris,
who went to court and pretty much sued me to take my videos down, have my videos removed from YouTube.
Oh.
And everybody knows, but everybody plays the silent, bro.
You ended up getting some litigation for something that you said about Chris Stokes online?
Yeah.
What happened?
He pretty much had a court order and they removed my videos.
Damn.
Off of YouTube on him. And I was like, wow. Out of all people, why would he do that to me? There's still other people that made videos on him. He had to do that to me.
Right. Whoa. I hear everything that you're saying, and it's your account of what happened. I don't understand the part about taking a picture with him as an adult. Did you ever? I've heard you at different times. You might express legal action and things of that nature. Have you ever? Is that for real?
Well, actually, I went down and I met with an attorney that Layla Wills hooked me up with, and what happened was they took on the case. They was going to do a civil case, and then they was going to push for him to be arrested too, all together. And what happened was they pretty much called me and said, we have to drop the case because we cannot track him to serve him with the subpoena. Now, because this COVID thing is going on, they extended the timeline for us to be able to take him to court, but at the same time, being that he knew this was going to be the next steps or stages, or was possible to be the next steps or stages, he pretty much liquidated anything that was in his name. So the private investigators cannot find him, even though you still see him popping up all around the country. They said they could only trace him back to Brazil and the UK. So what the lawyer said was, he said, listen, you have a good chance of beating this case. I'm not going to tell you not to get another attorney. What I will say is, if you can find him and we can trace him, then we'll pick the case back up. Because if we go to court and we stand in front of the judge and we can't produce him, the case is going to get thrown out. So the whole key to it is catching up to him. So I said, you know what, I understand where he's coming from. But see, another thing that I need to do too is, now I need to put the pressure back on Ron Savage. Because you started this fight, you open the can back up or whatever the case may be. Let's finish this. Because Ron has all of the know-how when it comes to the politics and the politicians. He actually became the face, or one of the faces of the Child Victim Act. And then out of the blue, there's rumors that Bam gave him a bag under the table. That's why he went quiet. Ron was always the one that Bam was more worried about because of the legal, the legal ways that Ron could come at him. Now, they always knew that I would never take Bam to court because I always said that. But when Sinetta started playing those games with Tafi. I said, all right. So once we get the court case open, he would be done.
Ron Savage definitely disappeared. That's a great observation. He contacted me at one point. That was a couple years ago, and then he just kind of like vanished. I believe if he felt that he was dealt an injustice, he probably would still be around. He probably got compensated at some point because we don't hear from him. Your channel, what gave birth to you? Okay, you said you kind of ended up being a YouTuber incidentally, right?
Yeah, so what my channel was like, I was pretty much told once I stopped making videos, that's when they was gonna try to kill me. Now, when you dealing with a family as big as the Zulu Nation, you don't know where it's coming from. So it was like, okay, that's how they want to play. I'm gonna keep making videos. I stayed on the topic, for a while, and for some reason, I was always like, people always, I was pretty much getting views. People was watching me. I was getting views or whatever the case may be, and I was on YouTube for 2 years without being monetized. So that's when the dude Kev Gills, he hit me up out of the blue, and he was like, yo, you getting all these numbers, like, yo, why you not monetized? You the truth, nigga. You ain't monetized your page. I'm like, what's that?
Right.
All other dudes that platforms that I've been on, they knew I could monetize my page. He never said nothing to me about it. He told me to monetize my page. So when I monetize my page, and the next thing you know, I set up a PayPal or whatever the case may be. And, once people started seeing the love that I was getting, and I was actually getting money in my super chat and donations and stuff like that, the energy started changing.
Right. You feel that the way people received you started to change?
Like,
people's perception of you? Is that what you're saying?
For one, what happened was like it was just weird because the whole time, and it's funny because my animal instinct told me not to trust Kev Gills, but he was also shedding light on my situation with Afrika Bambatta, banging on Bam.
Okay.
And I always felt it's still in my gut. My street gut just told me something ain't right about Duke. Next thing you know, Duke started making fun of me being molested. He figured that if he started dissing me, it would propel his YouTube career, and I don't know why dudes be faking this.
Oh yeah,
if you diss
I get that.
Another YouTuber, it's just gonna propel your channel. And what they don't realize is that when a person builds their own channel, people are dedicated and loyal to that channel. They might watch your video just to see what you had to say about the YouTuber I think they rock with, but they're gonna still be dedicated to a dude like Young Farrell, for example, or Gully TV. They're gonna still be loyal to who they found one. Right. So that's what he did, and it kind of hurt me because it was like, yo, me and this dude used to be on the phone kicking it and all the rest of that, and he started making fun of me being molested. So I said, being that you making fun of me being 12 years old, how about if I stick some heavy D in your kids? How would you like that? Being that they 12. And, people understood what I was saying.
Some people twisted it. I remember when that happened. I remember when that incident happened, but since the way that you just put it in context, I believe it was blown out. They tried to make it like he was talking about his daughter specifically or something like that.
So pretty much, I mentioned both of his kids being disrespectful the way he was being disrespectful because a brother was hurt and I was angry and I was emotional. It was like, people got to understand something. And you being a man and me being a man, men do not tell when they get molested. They're never going to tell that. So now that's the deep, darkest, ugliest secret on this earth. So for you to play and tease somebody, like, that's the most hurtfulest thing that you could ever do. And that's what was done to me. And it's crazy because now I'm numb to it. But at that time, it hurt like hell. And then what people got to understand too is like behind the scenes, when I flipped on Bam, I I created a lot of enemies, and I had to cut a lot of people off that I really grew up like my day ones, because it's like now I don't know if I could ever trust you.
I get that. Yeah.
And coming from Bronx River, you gotta understand something. Bronx River had a pride about them, the Zulu Nation, like. So now it's like telling the family secret. You just dishonored the family. So that's pretty much what it was. Like, it was like a lot of shade my way, because I just basically killed the whole reputation of Bronx River.
I understand. I could understand their sentiments in some aspects, because to I don't know, to expose Afrika Bambatta, that could probably minimize the contribution of a song like Planet Rock or something like that, or The Perfect Beat. You understand what I'm saying? I always had a problem with saying anything critical of him. I've never met him, even though, you know, I'm very much aware of the accusations from you and other people. I grew up on Planet Rock. I grew up on The Perfect Beat, and I just wouldn't want to like kick dirt on that. I think people need to know about that. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, see, I'm the type of person like this, right? I don't knock people for playing R. Kelly's music, but I don't think R. Kelly should get a pass for what he did. Publicly, when R. Kelly walked the street, like, R. Kelly need a real. R. Kelly should have been touched in prison. You see what I'm saying? He should have been touched in the street. He should have been touched, like, even more so in prison. He should have been touched, because regardless of what, we all seen those tapes back in the days. He did with the little girls. He had little girls. You go to the barbershop, dudes was playing the tapes in the barbershops. So it was like, damn. R. Kelly should have been touched. He's been doing what he's been doing for a long time. But at the same time, this is another reason. Like, I always say, coming from New York, being outside of Bronx River and going to Truman or being around Monroe when I was cutting school, right, you always had a 30-year-old dude coming to pick up the 15-year-old freshman in the car. And we was always mad. They were like, yo, why this grown-ass man coming to pick up this short? It's one of our shorties.
I was gonna get to that. I watched some of the Jeffrey Epstein shit. I watched the Jeffrey Epstein documentary, and I watched some of the R. Kelly shit too. And when I seen that Jeffrey Epstein was, I don't know, he was giving out $200 to chicks in high school. That sound like the hustlers coming up to the high school buying chicks Air Jordans and shit when I was in school and shit. Like, that shit was like regular. Even in the movie, I think, what was it, Sunset Park? Beast Stinger, that was Fredro's character. A guy spin off with his chick in a Jetta. You remember that?
You know what? I didn't watch that.
It don't make it ordinary. I'm just saying, when I seen that Epstein shit, I'm like, this shit is kind of like a practice that's been going on with guys with money and status and shit. It don't make
pretty much. You pretty much got a license to do whatever you want to do when you got money in a community, because you're popular. They allow you to get away with anything and make excuses for you when you do it too. If me and you do something like that, we going up under the jail. Ain't gonna be no mercy for us. But when one of these celebrities do what they do, it's all good. It's gonna be overlooked. And if you try to say something about them, you're just a hater.
Right. Your channels have you I believe you became you had to at some point become a favorite of some people. You surpassed a lot of us who's been doing this a long time. You got 2 channels, correct?
Actually, I got 4 of them.
God damn.
Nah, you know why I had to do that though?
How do you keep up with all them email addresses?
Because you know what? When I started beefing with dudes on the internet, I started getting flagged, and I was like, you know, I didn't know how to appeal and do none of the rest of that stuff. But Lily learned how to do that, so she would be the one appealing all the stuff, and YouTube would come back and make a decision. And some of those strikes almost knocked. Now, it was one time, no, twice, I had to take heavy video on my page and put it on private because I had 2 strikes in one day. They had to wait for the appeals to come back. So I was like, you know what? That's what helped me to grow. I started building the real topics, and they started flagging that page after a while. Like, flagging it. So now the real topics, YouTube did some BS where they let me get super chat, but I can't monetize none of my videos.
Yeah, damn. Okay. So overall, has it was what do you think that it was? Has YouTube been a blessing for you? You've been able, is it therapeutic for you? You've been able to share your story as well as earn some revenue. Obviously, we watched your progression with the Sherlins and shit like that, man. Where you be copping all them leathers at? We seen. I believe people had a problem with that. You started flossing on us a little bit.
Now, you want to know what's funny? Because I had a talk with Shorty, right? And she was like, yo, you be getting on YouTube just wearing anything. She said, start dressing like that. You better start dressing like us ladies is watching you. So I said, you know what? Because I didn't give a damn. I was going up there rugged. I didn't care. So when she said that, I was like, hi. Yeah, the ladies is watching. Let me stop stepping it up a little something. Because it's like one thing that pisses me off about these birds, right, is that they make it seem like a dude was just sitting around in the projects with a 40 in my hand with no bread. I was always eating. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, the dudes don't even understand. Like, I was, first of all, me being in the dog game alone, sometimes dudes will sell a dog for $250,000. One dog. The dudes don't understand that. Depending on what bloodline you have and what breedings you do, you can make anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000, $30,000, $40,000, whatever you want for that puppy. They would never understand it because they would never spend that kind of money. But you've been around niggas with money, so you can understand that. Dudes that ain't never had no money, they can't understand that. So I've been eating on top of the fact that my wife make bread. Not to be funny or nothing, Gully, I don't fuck with them broke bitches.
Okay.
So if I ever fall off my feet, I'm not gonna never be like these niggas running around. I don't mess with broke chicks. If I ain't got no money and you ain't got no money, we ain't gonna do nothing but fight.
Let me ask you about the situation with Derek. That was the guy's name, right?
Yeah.
What was that about, my nigga? Well, like if you felt that he was being I don't know, perverted or violating some man codes, why did you continue to interact with him? I'm asking you a few questions that people generally would like to ask.
I didn't continue to interact with him. What happened was he left his property inside my car. So that was just a quick. He came up there 4 times. I curved the dude, but after a while, I'm like, yo, this Shamar right here. This dude holding you down in the comment section. You know what I mean? Go meet up with the dude. So I went and checked him. I was like, let's go slide over the Steppins or whatever the case may be. Get some buffalo wings and some of the Long Islands. Now, the Long Islands the Long Islands are Steppins. So when I tell you, that shit knocks you on your ass.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? We got some Long Islands. So when the nigga got drunk, he just started getting real weird or whatever the case. And I started noticing little things about him. Like, the nigga, it's like the drunker he got, the more feminine he got. So I was like, it was just kind of weird. But I'm like, all right, no problem. Now it's time for us to leave. We get outside or whatever the case may be, and it just got weird. I don't know what it was, but I snapped on a nigga or whatever the case may be. I ended up slapping him up, and I'm like, yo, my paranoia. I'm like, yo, this dude's trying to set me up. This nigga's an LGBTQ assassin. So I went live with the situation because I'm like, yo, if this dude call the police on me, this is a hate crime.
Okay.
So that's the way that was my logic, and that's the way I'm thinking. And like honestly speaking, I was so drunk. He was so drunk too. I was like, yo, you know what? If I just leave this dude, his stuff is in my car. If I don't get him to my car, that's why I was live, walking to the car to get his stuff out. If I don't give him back his stuff, he gonna say I robbed him.
Right.
So now my mind is thinking paranoid, and then I'm like, yo, if you leave this dude in between Bronx River and Trio in this area right here, and these niggas catch him out here, they gonna rob him. They gonna do something to him. Just get the dude to the train. So I'm thinking now, like, listen, just get this dude out of here in one piece so you don't have to go down. And then, the next day I felt kind of bad because I'm like, yo, I just was on the phone with Dog's daughter. So me going through the situation with Derek, I think at this point in time, my paranoia kicked in, and me being like funny style towards the LGBTQ community because of what I've been through. Like I just like that's not my cup of tea. And he had a gay aura to him, and then he started getting a little aggressive. And I'm like, yo, why are you touching me? he said some shit because I can. So I slapped him, and when I slapped him, it was like he was on a freeway section in the middle of the street. I had to pick the nigga up because the car was about to hit him. Like, oh man, I was sloppy drunk. I would never do that again.
Hey do you have I've seen you online a couple of times when you've had a few drinks. Is that something that you deal with? You a drinker and shit?
Yeah, honestly speaking, I started drinking, real heavy, dealing with all of this stuff because it put a lot of pressure. It's like this, right? Like even with my moms, at some point in time, me and my moms had a real strain on our relationship because of all of the publicity I was getting. There was things being said about her also as a mother, and what I will say about my moms is my moms did her best for a single mother, raising 6 kids by herself. So she wasn't perfect, but she had to deal with all of the scrutiny behind what happened to me. So, it put a strain on me and my mother's relationship. And then it also put a strain on a lot of other relationships I had with people that was really, really close to me. So it was like a real depressing feeling because it's like pretty much everybody being dead to you. I had to isolate myself. And then, pretty much it's also around the time I done lost brothers, that closest friends that got murdered or got life in jail and got locked up for the feds. So I felt like at a point in time I was really lonely out here, like isolated myself, being picked on through the internet, people making fun of what I was going through. It was a lot. So I'm hitting the bottle like crazy.
Okay, yeah, it took nerve to come out and share your story with a bunch of strangers. I mean, it's probably difficult confessing, what happened to you to one person, but you actually shared it with a bunch of strangers, and everyone has to commend you for the strength that was involved in that endeavor. I want to switch lanes for a minute. Let's talk about something a little bit more current. Tell me how you feel about the arrest of those who allegedly killed Jam Master Jay.
Disgusted. I feel totally disgusted because from what I'm understanding and what I'm hearing is like one of the dudes used to sleep on his couch, and it's like I'm the type of person like this, right? If I got beef, then I'm gonna do what I gotta do, but I still have principles. Like if I got beef with somebody that I know, I'd rather walk away. What they did to that man was disgusting, and then it's like I always say in my videos, it's like when a mother is standing over the casket crying, it be the nephew hugging her, trying to help her get through the pain, but little does she know it's the nephew that killed her son. And in that situation, dogs are standing in front of the doggone memorial constantly, and you taking pictures, rest in peace, Jam Master. You dogs, you killed them? Because the one thing I do know is when the feds come get you, you're done. You got something and you got.
Yeah.
So that situation was disgusting to me. It really, that situation was disgusting, man. It was disgusting.
Being as though you of the era, could you explain to some of my listeners who might be a lot younger the contributions and the magnitude of someone of Jam Master Jay's caliber?
Man, Jam Master Jay, Run DMC, man. Oh my God, man. People don't even understand. When they came out, man, that group right there is the Michael Jackson of hip hop. That's what them dudes was. Run DMC, Jam Master Jay was the Michael Jackson of hip hop. Those are the kings right there.
Word. What year
and honestly speaking, you're never gonna get a group like them again. They're unique. You're never gonna get that again.
Very unique. Very unique. Where were you when what were you doing when Run DMC became popular? When I think they were the first rap group to appear on MTV. What were you doing back then?
scared. I wasn't able to do nothing but just sit up there, ride my BMX bike, play Skelzy, and listen to my favorite song. He told me to walk this way. That joint was crazy. Talk this way. Like, oh, man.
Right. It seems that there's been the violence in hip hop is really, really getting out of control, as well as the violence that's gripped the country with the police shootings and everything. Can you, I got a question for you. Do you agree with how Homeboy acted in Kenosha, Wisconsin during the arrest by the police? I mean, he was shot, but do you agree with his conduct during that whole situation?
Well, what I say is, I think that the brother was a little bit emotional. He did a good job as far as breaking up a fight. From what I understand, he was breaking up a fight out there, doing good work. But at the same time, brothers got to understand there's a procedure, there's a way that you carry yourself when you got a gun aimed at you. And once those police pulled that gun, he had to understand that you was engaged in war. So now you got to humble yourself, or you got to go all the way out. When he opened up that car door and he stuck his hand in that car door, regardless of what, if I had a gun, I would have shot him too. Because me being behind you, I don't know what you're going in that car for. That's just, it is what it is. Like, if I'm beefing with a dude, I might not want to shoot you, I'm talking to you, but when you open up the car door real quick and you stick your hand in there, most people keep their hammer under their seat. So I can understand why the cop shot him, but at the same time, I think that the cop was all the way wrong, because the cop wanted to shoot him anyway.
Definitely. People make comparisons. People say things like, "Well, if it was a white person, it would have went like this." My theory and my belief on the whole shit is that we not white. We not generally protected by the Constitution. Whenever whenever you have to exercise your right to be protected by the Constitution, it's normally in court. This ain't court. This is real life. You face with the executioner. The police officer could be your executioner, judge, and jury, all on the same day. You dig what I'm saying? And I believe that some of the people who you see being arrested, I believe these are like their first encounters with the police, because people who have had prior encounters with the police know better than to be doing that bullshit. Like if I was a passenger in that truck and homie was acting like that, I would have been like, "Yo, fam, what you doing, my nigga? Like, you putting everybody in danger generally."
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because when I hear he had kids in the back, I don't know how true that is, but I already had kids back there. And there's a way that you conduct. First of all, it's like, for one, you're moving around too much, way too much with a loaded gun at you. For two, what people don't understand is, like, you can look and see that the officer that shot him is one of those dudes without a gun. Like, you could literally drag him up and down the block. So now, of course, he's going to be extra with the gun. On top of the fact that black people have to understand that there's clubs and organizations in the police task force where they pretty much got their own little secret society, where you get certain ranks in those secret societies where you either catch a gun or you kill somebody. So if you give a police, all you have to do is cross one line where they could justify that they are going to kill you. Your head is a walking trophy to them. And this is what brothers in the street don't understand. You are being targeted. The day that you was born, you became a target. You're being hunted. And this is what black America got to understand. So for me, the way I see things now, especially like, I really sat back and I've been really, really analyzing. And I was going to make a video on this topic, and I still am. It's like, when you sit back and you analyze, look at all the deaths that's coming through the music industry right now. So many Brooklyn rappers are getting popular on YouTube and they're dying. Right. And it's like, it's running parallel to that Chicago drill music now that's going on. So you got the Chicago cats dying, you got the Brooklyn cats dying, and then you sit back and you look at Chink's Drugs, you look at all of the brothers that's been murdered, and it makes you really, really sit back and say, you know what? I can't move like them. I can't move like Zach TV. Look what they did to Zach.
Right.
That brother was going around helping brothers with their music career, something that I'm trying to do right now. But at the same time, I say, you know what? I got to do it different. I got to watch where I be, how long I'm there, because where I'm at in New York is cameras everywhere. When I hit the blocks and I'm standing on these blocks, I got to think like this. If I allow an altercation to come where somebody think they're going to play with me because the youth don't give a damn about what you did, you got to always show these young boys. I'm not going to have nobody world star me. But you put yourself on the wrong block under them cameras and you spank a dude, because I ain't standing outside fist fighting nobody neither. Especially when these dudes is 100 deep. And you clap one of these young boys on camera, that's your whole career right there. So now I got to make sure I stick and move everywhere I go, because every topic that I deal with, I'm dealing with stuff that's like offending people. Dudes don't want you to talk about the big homies. I make the big homies look like bozos, because you are. After a certain age, the grown man in you supposed to kick in. See, the one thing I will say about you, Gully, is like when I look at you, you know what I mean? You got your grown man going on. You might smoke your weed on your platform like everybody else do, but you got your grown man. Some of these dudes is like 60 years old with bandanas on their head. Like, nigga, you're grown. It's a certain way you're supposed to carry yourself when you get a certain age. And it's like some of these dudes, you're bragging about what you did and how much time you did. Dogs, you did time 20 years ago. So you mean that you still stuck in your things? On top of the fact that you're telling me that 20 years, 30 years later, within those 30 years, you haven't did nothing else. The only thing that's on your mind is jail. Like, I know I done seen you done took trips and met up with Haitian Jack. You on different islands all over the place. Like, I know, like, we can have some conversations. I like to travel. I don't want to talk about hood book and shit all the time.
Right. I agree with you. I'm the same way. I believe that some of the content on the internet has gotten out of control. I try to corral and monitor my behavior. I'm with this shit at times too. Upon provocation, which leads me to my final question. Have you heard the recent interview from Blue Boy?
Oh no, I don't really know who that cat is. Like, a lot of these new dudes is like, first of all, listen to his name, Blue Boy. And on top of that, I know he's supposed to be down with on whack. Well, I don't like whack.
No. That's Blueface you're talking about. Blue Boy is a guy who's serving life. He one of the rat hunters in the New York State.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I did hear that. Right. The one that's incarcerated.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. I heard a little bit of that.
Do you care to elaborate on the Box and Bar situation? Did you serve time with Bar?
No, I never met on Box and Bar. See, here's my thing like this, right? See, me with the situation with Mano, I heard a lot of the rumors and stuff like that, or whatever the case may be. My problem with the situation is that I want to see if Mano really ratted, and that's what he did. I want to see his co-defendant, because I know who they said it's supposed to be the co-defendant or whatever the case that was on that case. If that co-defendant ain't coming for, because the dude is home, and he not coming out and telling everybody like, yo, because he ain't no sucker neither. And he's not telling the people like, yo, Mano ratted or whatever the case may be. People got to stop saying that. You see what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I made a couple of videos on Mano's behalf or whatever the case because of Lucky Dawn, me and Ramen was locked up together. Son of Fish, we get busy, not nasty knuckle game. And he vouched for son, so I said, you know what, I gotta respect that because I know my son is thorough. Now, I'm not saying that Mano did or didn't do anything. What I'm saying is that until his co-defendant come forward and say, yeah, he did tell on me, I can't co-sign that. Because at the end of the day, dogs is in the street. And it's starting to seem like it's just a witch hunt going on. When Box and Bar was in the street, he had the opportunity to face Mano. And I watched the video where he sat up there and called Mano a fish. And said Mano was a thorough dude. We was just on Rikers Island playing razor tag. And then he goes to jail. All of a son, you dissing, man. You know, I can't understand that. He spoke highly of him under one breath, and then turned around and called him a rat under the other breath. So my thing is, what is boxing bars his motive? Because I would never speak highly of a dude that I know is just ratted.
Got it.
So that was my whole thing right there. And I personally feel like, see, I know you got a little gripe with Mano, and I can understand where you're coming from. Me personally, I feel some type of way because I feel like YouTube is trying to not send out our notifications to people, to our crowds that we already built, and they tried to take our checkpoints too. But YouTube is flipped because they making room for these celebrities, these rappers and these singers. You got everybody pretty much is on. Lil Wayne got his own platform on YouTube now. You know, Mano got his joint. You got Will Smith and like Nick Cannon. Everybody's coming to YouTube now because there is no more shows. There's no more concerts like that in a lot of places. So the money is drying up. So now it's like it feels like YouTube is trying to rob us of our audience and push and promote them dudes.
They is doing it. That's what a lot of my issues be about. The mistreatment of my platform. You dig what I'm saying? Like being slighted, offended. And yeah, they do promote those other platforms. I mean, in regards to people like me and you, they might monitor us. We might be like an X-rated YouTube platform or something like that. Because of the thing, everybody don't talk about Pistol Pete and B.O. and shit like that. You dig? So they might not all the way promote that, but I have seen preferential treatment shown for celebrities and shit. Or, rap stars who have media platforms.
You know what? I personally, I'm going to tell you like this. I know there's a FBI agent assigned to my YouTube page. I know it is, and I feel like somebody is tweaking out my videos, like certain videos with ignorance or whatever. They promote the hell out of that. And my powerful messages, they're slow right down. If I put videos up, let's say if I do a video with my daughter, right? They don't want that image out for my page. Right. They know I can go real far with that. It might get 10,000 views.
Right.
I'll upload a video and have 500 likes with no views. YouTube is a calculator. There's no way in hell you can mess up my views like that. So they're playing with the views on the videos that they want.
Definitely.
Whatever videos they want to do 100,000 views, they let it. And whichever ones they don't, they stop it. They playing with the numbers.
Definitely. And they pick and choose what they want to monetize.
They'll check it, right? I know that some of the haters, they mass flag my page to make me go into gold. So what I started doing is I'll upload the video and I'll keep it on private. And it'll go into the green, and then it'll still be on private and go into the gold. Then I'll appeal the video, and YouTube will put it back in the green. Now, my whole thing is, if it was on private and it was never released, why would it go into the gold?
Wow. Yeah, and it never was
so
released. That showed that they biased. If it was never published and they already put it on gold and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started watching. You got to start paying attention. And see, the thing about it is with YouTube, like now, what they doing is like you have to be controversial. In order to break the little spell that they put on our page, where you start seeing your page dry, you ain't getting the views that you normally been doing. YouTube does that. They dry you out. So you constantly have to pull in new subscribers to break that. And then after a while, depending on what topics I touch on, like for example, right, if I speak on Jay-Z, when I spoke on Charlamagne the God, like certain topics I speak on, when I spoke on Leo Cohen's, YouTube would actually affect my page.
Yeah.
And then what I do is when I do some crazy shit, and it start people talking, so the numbers will start going up, and then they'll adjust my page again. So I said, you know what? I got slick on YouTube. I was like, I'm not going to post for a minute. I wasn't posting much of nothing on my big page like that. I started posting on my Raw and Uncut page. And on my Raw and Uncut page, with 30,000 subscribers was doing higher views than my 200,000 subscriber page.
Not sending out notifications. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So they did something my little page is doing bigger numbers than my bigger page. That's where they messed up at. Because people were like, yeah, nah, you just bugging. You always paranoid. Nah, paranoia is good because it makes you see. Because you always watch it. So it's like, yeah, this is what they do to us. So you done earned, you pretty much got a big page. Once you make it to 100,000 subscribers, automatically you should be shooting to 1 million subscribers. They not doing that with us black dudes. They don't want that. First of all, we too powerful.
Right.
Imagine if Malcolm X and Martin Luther King had the ability to talk to 100,000 people a day. You think the feds ain't watching us? Everything you do and everything you say, they watching. Because when you have an audience that make you a threat.
Facts.
And that's why YouTube is pushing so many of these hate videos. Like, if you search my name, all you seeing is YouTube being overflooded by hate videos because they gotta water me down. This is a tactic that they use, just like, for example, right, with the swatting. When you become a YouTuber, you don't have to go out on the street corner no more. Everything you do damn near is at home. So now, if you're not in the streets like that, they had to come up with an excuse to be able to go in your house. So now when the phone call go through, oh, he got a gun in the house, he's trying to kill his whole family, now they got a reason to come to your house and execute you because they got a phone call. Because you're a threat. So this is how they deal with that threat. You're no longer the Martin Luther King and Malcolm X that was standing on the block. You can do exactly what they do without renting a building. You're doing it right in your house, in your kitchen.
I hear you. Hasan, I appreciate you, man, for coming through. Maybe in the future we can go a little bit more in depth. Not on Bambatta. I hope that this is an ample opportunity for you to share your story with everybody in regards to him. I don't really like talking about that shit for real, again, because, you know, I grew up in hip-hop. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you for trusting me to deliver your message on my platform.
Yeah, anytime, man. Like I said, as YouTubers, we got to stick together because, you know what I mean, the window of opportunity is closing and they trying to push us out, so we got to hold each other down. That's the smart thing to do.
Okay, man. You be blessed and enjoy the afternoon, man. I'll speak to you soon. Peace.
All right, Ron.
Subscribe to the channel, Hip Hop, Sports, and Fashion. The Real Gully TV. That was Hasan Campbell. That was my special guest for this evening. I got an interview coming with Saigon. He has a project coming out August 28th. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, The Real Gully TV. You don't want to miss anything, man. I'm the most electrifying thing happening online these days. The Real Gully TV. Killing this shit. Fuck with that Steve Francis, man. Share that shit, like, share, comment, man. I'm up out of here, man. I got work to do. Peace.